Right. Tuchel has announced his first ever squad. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I am confused, but I think I've figured out some answers. We're going to go to the tactics board and talk all about it. It's confusing. It's slightly wild, and I needed a bit of time to process it. But Thomas Tuchel is in this job not for the long haul. He's here for the short term, and he has to do what's right for him. And I think the thing that's really important here when I look at this squad is that it's about now, but it is just the start. Let's get into this squad, because initially you've got your 4 goalkeepers: Henderson, Pickford, Ramsdale, Trafford, Burn, Cole, Gay, Reece James returns. Ramsdale returns as well. Concert, Lewis Skelly gets his first call up. Livramento is in there. Kwanzaa is in there. Kyle Walker returns to the squad. Bellingham, Eze, some might be surprised by that. Jordan Henderson returns to the squad. A lot of people surprised by that. Curtis Jones, Palmer, Rice and Rodgers. And then up top, or forwards, Bowen, Foden, Gordon, Kane. Marcus Rashford returns. And Solanke. So I've got a list of names here that didn't make it. Of course, we did our tier list of me putting forward the squad that I thought might be a good shout, and I think I've got pretty much everyone here. Let's go to the bloody tactics board and dive into this. And fingers crossed I haven't forgotten anyone here. But what's interesting to me is, what's he trying to do here? Now, I think the important thing to say is the games are against Latvia and Albania, and so that I think it does play a part in this. And what is he looking to achieve? This is that, like, what is the basis for everything that he's doing? It's to win the World Cup. So when it comes to this squad, why are some of these guys in there? I think, first of all, he's spoken about the 4 goalkeepers, and they're going to battle it out. Ramsdale returns, Henderson, Pickford and Trafford. I think he's going to want to give all of them minutes. I think he's going to want to see who out of these guys, how do they work together, was something he spoke about in his video. But I think, importantly, on the ball, how good are they? I think that could be quite an important thing, and that will have a ripple effect onto the rest of the group in terms of how they play, how they build up, how they set up. We've got a video on how Thomas Tuchel will set up. In that video, actually, we spoke and got hammered for it. I was like, I could see Rashford getting back involved, but obviously Rashford was in horrific form at the time. But Rashford is in this squad, and it's pretty surprising, let's be honest. Let's not talk about the goalies for too long, because it will be who it will be, and it will be Pickford, let's be honest. I think Trafford's maybe one for the future, and maybe if there's a sort of meteoric rise for him as a Premier League goalkeeper next season, maybe he's pushing, but the experience that you've got with Pickford, I think I can't see anyone else with Pickford being the goalkeeper. He's done nothing wrong, really. Well, not enough wrong, has he? Now, this decision that we were talking about is, does he want to see 4 at the back, or does he want to see 3 at the back? And I wonder if it's just going to be super, super fluid. But again, when it's Latvia and Albania, you wonder if he's going to want to try and have a back 4 that turns into a 3. I think he's got a lot of players that are quite kind of hybrid in that sense. Like, in terms of players that you think could be comfortable in a back 3, Kwanzaa, we saw him at right back recently. He can come over and peel over to the side and be part of a back 3. Walker could do the same. He's played in a back 3 under Southgate. Concert, very comfortable on that right-hand side, or as that centre back as well if he wants to be. Gay, of course, can play on the right or can play in the middle, probably play on the left as well. He's that good in terms of a back 3. Burn can do it. As someone who's played as a left back at different times, and I'm delighted for him actually that Burns gets a call up. And I think what's interesting here is that, like, obviously we are caught up in what we think is right, and I think what could be really refreshing here is that Tuchel doesn't care, and I don't think he should care, and I like that. I like that he's going to go, well, no, I want Dan Burn in the squad. And there's nothing wrong with having Dan Burn in the squad. He's going to be very effective in both boxes, and he's solid on the ball, and he plays for a really, really good team in Newcastle. So I've got no huge problem with it. And again, the thing that we're going to find out over the next period of time is it a back 3? Is it a back 4 that he wants to move forward with? 2 things he spoke about. One, being physical, playing a Premier League style of football. I thought that was really, really interesting. How the formation of which he wants to do that, I'm fascinated by that. And I think the problem is that we won't truly know the truth, because it's Latvia and it's Albania. And so when you come back to when you're going to play sort of better sides that are going to affect you out of possession a little bit more, that's where it's interesting. But he's definitely brought in a lot of players that are comfortable. Ben White is not one of those. Branthwaite is not one of those as well. I think that is a bit of a surprise. But I think there's a cultural thing here. Also, let's touch on the left-back situation. No, I think Tyrick Mitchell's very unfortunate here. It says to me that he believes Tyrick Mitchell's ceiling is not good enough to play in a 4 or in a 3-4-3, which might be a road that he might want to go down if he does want to play that back three, or he feels like Livramento's ceiling is higher on that left-hand side. Lewis Skelly's obviously been fantastic at stepping into midfield. Is that something we're going to see? I'm fascinated to see that. Is it one where you just kind of go, do you know what? We might need Lewis Skelly in time. Let's blood him and see. But again, how's it going to work overall? I'm desperate for him to, it's a wild squad, but I'm okay with it as long as he is making a team that has balance. And that's what I'm desperate to see. And I thought he made a really good point where he's talking about the expectations of this group. There's only so much you can do. And he will be judged solely on how they do in the World Cup. Nothing else really, really matters. Delighted Livramento's in there. Lewis Skelly, I'm fine with it. He, as Tuchel said, it's accelerating his sort of growth and therefore hype, which makes me a little bit nervous because I think he's wonderful, but he's just so young. Maybe it's because I'm a dad now. I don't know. But I just want to make sure he's okay. But he's not been afraid at any point, and he's an outstanding footballer. But, utilising what makes him great, which is kind of stepping in, is that something that Tuchel will allow him to do? Physical side of it, being a Premier League team, reflecting the league, not trying to be anyone else, all things that I think a lot of people have been keen to hear from an England manager for a long time. But I think the sort of fast tracking of a winning culture is something that he wants to, as I say, fast track. And I think that's why you've got some of these players. That's why Walker's there, I think. I think that's why Dan Burn is there. I think that is why Henderson is there as well. I think he wants to go, these are the standards. This is what we're looking to be. Because it's not about these two games in terms of the group, as in the group dynamics, as the culture of the team. And I think what Henderson will do is he's another sort of manager. He's a sort of mole within the camp in the sense of keeping the standards up, keeping the intensity up, understanding the ebb and flow. Because one thing he is, I think he's a world-class leader, Henderson. And so for that point of view, it makes sense. Should he be playing, or is he someone that, again, you kind of chuck him on, 15 minutes to go, shore things up? Is he going to be playing in that squad? I mean, I'm surprised to see him from a talent perspective. I think someone like Conor Gallagher should be in when it's about physical merit, on the pitch, quality. But I think Henderson's pick is outside of that. I wonder if Walker's is a similar thing. And Dan Burn, time will tell. Maybe he wants that kind of physicality from him. But he said he's a team player. I thought some of the language that he used was really interesting. Not lost in translation, but actually revealing in a different way. And I think that's why some of those guys have come in. But Dan Burn in particular, I think, deserves to be able to get a cap in his career for sure. And it's worth looking at. And that's the balance. It's a balance between seeing what we want to see right now, or what he wants to see and explore, because you've got to kind of do it quickly and do it now. Ben White not in this squad, as I said. Branthwaite not in this squad. Will time tell in terms of bringing those guys in? I think we were going to learn so much in these two games in terms of what does he ideally want to do. Bit of a surprise for me in Jones, but I think it's one where Tuchel's able to go, no, do you know what? I really like you, Curtis Jones. And Curtis Jones is a really complete midfielder, and he can play in so many different positions. He can play as an 8, he can play as a 10, he can play as, part of a double pivot. And so from that point of view, that's really, really useful. Are they going to play as a 2 in there? I've got to be honest, I'm blown away that Adam Wharton is not in this squad. Blown away. Because if you think you're going to have, if he's going to go with a 3, and maybe he's not, maybe he's going with a 4 here, and and Walker, it might be an injury thing when it comes to Trent not being out, and if we take a few out here and start to build out this team. Is it Reece James? Because, look, Reece James is world-class he's a very, 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 very capable right back for England. And if he hadn't had these injuries, we wouldn't be, he'd be probably the most complete fullback that's available, right? But that's just not come to be up till now. So is he looking to play that 4 or is he looking to play that 3? I'm fascinated. I think he could move between the two. If you're playing the 3, then he probably plays Livramento, probably plays Reece James, and he probably wants 2 in here. But my problem is, not problem, but I'm intrigued by it, is there's a lot of 10s. And look, we've got a lot of 10s in English football, or English 10s as well. But I think the profile of these 3 is really interesting in terms of players that are going to go beyond, in terms of Bowen and Rashford and Gordon. But then you've got these guys who are, give me the ball to feet and let me break. And that's interesting. And that leads me to think that he's wanting to try and get a good number of these guys into the team. And so I feel like this is why I kind of come back to a 4. Is it one where Lewis Skelly actually steps in? I still think it's a miss to not have Adam Wharton kind of part of this group. But it shows that he wants those louder figures in there initially. Certainly initially. And then maybe kind of changes it up. But it's going to be interesting to see if Henderson sticks around for a long time. If we've got this 4 here and Skelly drops in, that might allow someone like Bellingham to move on a little bit. But then we've got a bit of a problem because we've just got so many players after that in terms of who you're trying to get involved. Eze is a really interesting one. And Eze is one where you go, oh, maybe they're trying to do something where you've got, you're going down that Crystal Palace route of having a back 3. So this is what I mean. This is where it starts to get really, really jumbled up and confused. Rice, Bellingham, all makes sense. Eze, a bit of a surprise, I think, for some, but I absolutely love him. And again, it's one where I think Tuchel might see stuff that others won't. They won't see the sort of... He kind of see through it, and he's got to have his opinion. He's got to believe in his opinion. Jared Bowen, Gordon and Rashford, as I said, really interesting here how they're going to play. Solanke, we know he's a backup, but he's in, and I'm okay with it. Don't see too big a problem. Some people are annoyed about Welbeck. I get that. Foden, an interesting one as well. Like obviously on form, not doing the business, but it's one where like you don't use the same brushes for different players. And I think with Foden, it's one where do we want to bring him on side? What personality types do we need in different areas? I think with Rashford, he's putting his arm around him and going, and this is the word that he used I thought was crucial. He used the word nomination. Rashford deserves this nomination. Now, a nomination, you haven't won anything, right? And I thought that was really interesting. It's a test. It's an opportunity. You're in the arena, You're going to the awards ceremony for now. But it doesn't mean he's won anything. So he needs to come in and do a real job and be effective. But I think that he is someone that you can get something out of them when you put your arm around the shoulder. And in terms of that sort of ability to drive him behind, we know Kane is going to drop deep. Let's take a few guys out for now, just for a second. Because I think what's interesting here is how does he want to go about his business here? Like, is Declan Rice going to sit and you're going to try and have Bellingham here with the 2 here? It feels like it's going to be Kane, 2 wide players here. And you would imagine it's either is it a Bowen or is it a Palmer? And you've got 2 options here. One's going to come this way. One's going to go that way. I think he obviously needs someone to stretch it. If you think about Chelsea back in the day, you had Havertz would drop deep and Kane obviously would drop deep, and you've got those wide players to go and get involved as well. Let's keep Rashford there just for now, just for a laugh. And so I'm fascinated to see how that midfield 3 kind of works. Let's just take Palmer out so I don't get confused. If you're playing a 4-3-3 and Lewis Kelly, is he going to step in here? Is Colwell going to come here? You're going to look to press really high. Then do you give yourself a bit of a box here? And if you're doing that, do you actually try and have Bellingham as part of the double pivot initially? And then it allows you to bring in an Eze or a Foden. And that's where Curtis Jones maybe comes off the bench and gets involved from that point of view. Could be something like that. Could be something like that for sure. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Because you've got all those 10s that you're trying to get involved here. Morgan Rogers, delighted that he's in there, totally deserves to be. I think stylistically it's going to be interesting to see him involved and how they can break with him in a different way. And actually in terms of working with a forward, That's going to be really, really nice to see. You need to have people to sort of stretch in behind, but you also need to get Cole Palmer in this team as well. So that's an interesting one as well. I'd actually quite like to see this. I think Palmer, Bowen, let those two run. Bellingham's going to run beyond as well at times. And that's actually where you can mix that up as well if you want to, and have a different 10 in there, because Bellingham's going to go when Palmer cuts in here. There's nothing wrong with that. And you definitely have to have a Gordon or a Rashford making that run in from the left-hand side. Nwaneri, I think it's a stylistic thing as well as obviously incredibly young player. But if he's going to play on that right-hand side, and he's got Bowen and Palmer, two really, really good players. Does he want to have a look at Nwaneri? Nwaneri plays in a very different style, more Palmer in terms of maybe coming inside than going down the line. As fantastic as he is, but is it one where you want to see him in training? Maybe it's one we'll see him in the next squad. And I think the other person I thought was really hard done by is Morgan Gibbs-White. And I think I would have gone, I think you know what you're going to get with Foden. I think with the Foden thing, he's been okay, and you know you're going to probably pick him in your World Cup squad. And so you don't want to get off on the wrong foot. You want to empower him. So I think that's what he's gone to do there. But I think Morgan Gibbs-White is really unlucky here. Who do you think is unlucky? Let me know in the comments down below. It's a confusing squad, but hopefully it's going to be the right one long term.